to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blasdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week, we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Out of the Box Radio. I am your host, Christine Blasdale, and I am very excited about you joining in today on this conversation. My special guest originates from the land down under, as they say, Samuel Osborne. He's a speaker, trainer, facilitator, not only for entrepreneurs, management, and college students, and just ordinary folks like you and me, but he's also the author of a book that is out called Pack a Bigger Punch, 7 Steps to Uncover Your Real Message. And this is a how-to book not only for entrepreneurs and speakers and management folks alike, but for us. This is the reason why I'm having Samuel on today, is because how many of us have these dreams and hopes and wishes, and yet we tend to just not get to them, not get started on them, and not to realize our hopes and dreams and always think of them as just hopes and dreams instead of reality. So we want to make things matter. We want to make things turn into matter. And on this program, we're going to try and give you the tools and tips and tricks on how you can take your dreams, the things that you want, the relationships that you want, the jobs that you've always dreamed of, your career, and actually make them happen. Okay? Does that sound good, Samuel?
That sounds a great idea.
Okay. And so my guest this hour is Samuel Osborne. And Samuel, by the sound of your accent, my listeners would say that you are not from the United States, but you are from a different location.
I am from Perth, Western Australia. It is actually the most isolated capital city in the world.
Why is that?
Because geographically, it's the most furthest capital city from another capital city anywhere in the world. The next capital city is Adelaide, which is in South Australia, then Melbourne. But the distance between Perth and Adelaide is the largest distance between any two capital cities in the world. And Perth it's on the west side of Australia, which is away from where, let's say, most of the action is. Sydney,
I was going to say, how far is Perth from Sydney?
It would take you about 4.5 to 5 hours to fly. So it's a bit like going from LA to New York.
Yeah.
To drive across, which I highly recommend to people, give yourself a week. Because there is so much beauty to see and so much space to enjoy. And if you love looking at the stars at night, you are in for a real treat. It is so clear out there because there's no lights from cities.
Right.
It's beautiful. It's truly a gorgeous country.
And what brought you here? What brought you to the U.S.?
It is an excellent story, and the short answer is love.
Oh,
love.
Yes,
love for a beautiful woman. And at the end of 2015, I had a calling to travel overseas, and I actually applied to be a school teacher at the Australian Vietnam International School in Ho Chi Minh City. And I had this whole idea of, I'm going to go to Asia, be a teacher, learn Vietnamese. And my first step was to drive across from Perth to Melbourne, sell all of my things, pack my car, go to Melbourne and do a bit there and then go overseas. Well, when I got to Melbourne, I went out on a few dates and I met this beautiful woman and we fell in love. And then she says to me, Sam, I've been offered a job in LA. And I'm going to take it, which meant we were probably going to have to say goodbye because this was 2 months into the relationship.
Oh, wow.
Which was really just casual dating.
Yeah.
And then it was a week after she had gone and we'd said goodbye with maybe the possibility of seeing each other in 6 months that I said over Skype, would you like me to come and live with you in LA? And she said, yeah. And so I redirected my life and moved over here about 14 months ago.
So it's been 14 months since you've been here, and with your love, how are things going?
I am the happiest man in the world, and LA is treating me really well, and it's a real eye opener. Front row seats to a country that is doing some interesting things.
I love how you said that. That's such a delicate way of saying
front row seats.
Our country is really acting like an ass. And I love this. This is what I really love. And when I was recently in Australia, I was in a little tiny beautiful place called Anna Bay, which is Nelson Bay, Anna Bay. Just gorgeous. It's about 3 hours from drive-wise from Sydney. And I spent a little bit of time in Sydney. Absolutely beautiful, amazing people. I felt so welcomed, and what I wanted to do while I was there, and I didn't, and I'm kicking myself, but I wanted to do a show on what Australians really think about America and Americans, because I was getting some of these things like. How come you guys, on your plates you have so much food, and and how come there's so many school shootings, and what's with the violence? What's with the guns? That was a big question. But because since you're kind of fresh from Australia, you can be my guinea pig guest questioner. Okay, let's put it this way, because you've been here for a little bit. What were some of your I guess perceptions of America and Americans, especially being there before you got here?
Before I got here, my perception was that America is a pretty scary place. That, my background is a school teacher. And so I've worked with teenagers and elementary school children, and the schools in Australia, never once has there been a shooting, I believe. It's not a common thing, as it is. America has a reputation, world reputation, that children, teenagers, parents, teachers get shot and killed in high schools and sometimes elementary schools around the country every now and then. It's like, okay, it just adds to the list. And so I had people saying to me, "You sure you want to move to America?" at a time when this was before Donald Trump was.
Oh, this is before Trump.
This was this is October 2016. Mm-hmm. So all of that was like, who's going to win, Hillary or Donald Trump? And people were saying, you want to actually go there? And I said, I want front row seats. The world's coming to an end. Let's go and watch it. No, I'm kidding. But I came over here, and I've been doing some substitute teaching in high schools in the Valley and downtown. And I would have to say that I have never met a more polite young generation, especially the Hispanic Latino teenagers. Very polite, energetic. However, they love to be heard just like everybody else. And the schools that I've been to have not been violent. Maybe I just haven't been to enough schools yet. But your opinion changes when you've actually met the people here. You go, well, there's incredible diversity here.
Yes.
It's not what the media portray. I think the media is really, about creating panic and stressing people out with a very amplified view of the world. And you just have to remember that there are so many good things happening in the world, but that doesn't sell. So
well, and one thing that you draw attention to is that within this, the beautiful thing about this country, and this is what I love about I don't go on and I say I love America. I love Americans, because Americans, it's a huge pool of people from all different races, religions, ethnic backgrounds. We have Australians living here. We have people from South America. We have people from all over the world. They come here Many of them are – some of them are fleeing situations that are not so great. Some of them are relocating here for business. Some of them are here for love, like yourself. Mm-hmm. And there is something that is absolutely magical about the blend and the mixture of all of these different people, because we bring from our cultures, right? We bring, the best and sometimes other stuff, but we bring all of these things together, and that's what I love about America. But there is the idea that it is, and it's not so much necessarily the masses, but there is a prevalence of violence, and I think that has to do with a few different factors, because there's so many people, even though there's great wealth here, massive amounts of wealth, stupid amounts of wealth. There's also a great deal of poverty, and I don't think that most people realize that. But there's also a lot of people, as opposed to, because I think in Australia, I don't even know what your population.
Not even 25 million people in total.
Yeah.
And I think in LA there's 10 million.
Right.
Like if you go from Ventura down to Long Beach.
So the entire state of California, there's probably more people in the entire state of California than in all of Australia.
Well, if California was its own country, its GDP would be about sixth in the world, sixth most economically wealthy country in the world. That's a lot of action.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, there is. Well, and you can see from being here, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
What were some of your other I don't know, what you thought before you got here, what you thought about America or Americans, and it can be something big or something small, whatever.
Well, I have the fortunate experience of living in Germany for 14 months straight out of college and learning another language and having, assumptions about going to another country and then experiencing culture shock and integrating as best as I can. And I knew when I was coming over to America that I'm going to have my own assumptions challenged by simply meeting people on an individual basis and getting to know them and going, wow, you can't do a blanket sort of opinion on America and Americans. It's so diverse. There's so much there's the extremes of there's a bit of this, there's a bit of that, and everything in between. That all got changed. So really beforehand, I try not to pass judgment on Americans. I mean, I know from studying media literacy that what we see is going to be a bit biased, and you just have to wait until you have your own first-hand experience. So I came over here with an open mind. Not all Americans are, I would have to say, positive, but many are. And the people I've met here have treated me really well. They've been so polite. However, I think that is a combination of them just being really nice people and me coming to it with an attitude of I'm here to make friends, to see the fun, to see the positivity in all things in the face of so much negative view about Americans. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the world, it appears, I mean, it's not appears, I mean, there's marches going on, do not like a lot of the things going on in this country. But there are a lot of people who are trying to do something about it and have great intentions, and that's a positive thing. So I would have to say there are people in America, or Americans are well-meaning, well-intended people. Yeah. They have such a strong sense of what is fair. I would have to say that is a if I was going to give a blanket statement, Americans have a great sense of what is fair. Now, I know there's a lot of racism in the history here, and you go, well, that's not fair. But if you get one-on-one with someone, I think you're going to find that they do have a heart.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you're situated in a place out right now in California. California and New York probably are the two most progressive states. There's areas in between that are not so progressive, and it's probably the same as in Australia. There's probably the larger cities where people are more well educated. They get they're introduced to people from different ethnic backgrounds and religions. They're probably a little bit more educated and they're a little bit more compassionate. But what I got when I was there in Australia, well, first of all, everyone received me very, very well. My fiance and I, who were and congratulations to Australia for passing same-sex marriage finally after
Yes,
a long,
of course.
long time, and a plebiscite vote by the people, and all these hoops that they had to go through. They have finally recognized the rights of same-sex couples to actually marry. But when we were there together, we experienced nothing but absolute wonderful open-heartedness. People respected us. I felt really great there. The thing that I got more overwhelmingly than anything was the Aussies were just scratching their head, and they said, "We don't understand. Number one, how Donald Trump could be elected president. Okay, fine. They're like, okay, fine. But they're like, number two, how can he still remain? How is it that he can be in power and with everything that has been shown, and that we see, they're outside of the country, but they're like, how is it that the American people are allowing that?" And I don't know if they're totally aware of how our Congress works. I don't know how your Parliament works. Is it a Parliament, correct?
Parliament. I think most Americans don't understand their own government. They don't understand their own tax laws, and Australians probably don't, on the whole, understand their own. My opinion is that at school, from an early age all the way through to high school, people are not taught the rules of the game. They are not taught how to have a voice. They are taught to be employees and to fit in. And as a result, you have to do your own learning. You have to care enough to go and look at all these things and understand the rules of the game in order to go through the right channels to change things.
Right. I wanted to get to the crux of what you this the book that you have written, Pack a Bigger Punch: 7 Steps to Uncover Your Real Message. Being here in the United States, I wanted to know how you've been received as a speaker, as a facilitator, and especially someone who is working with now. Well, you work internationally. I know you probably have clients all over the world, but now you're working primarily with Americans. Is there a difference between American and, let's say, Australians as far as speaking, getting out their message, getting out their as far as their hopes and dreams and putting them either on paper or putting them in action? Do you notice that there's any type of difference between the two countries?
The main difference is that in Australia, if you want to be successful and you start being successful, you can be criticized for that. There's a thing called the tall poppy syndrome.
What is it?
So a tall poppy is a kind of flower.
Yes, a tall poppy.
So if you
poppy is the heroin.
Yeah, exactly.
Flower.
So
yes.
if you are the person who grows up above the rest of people and you're successful and you try to set a goal and you start achieving it, everyone else around you will criticize you. It's quite common, and try to bring you back down to the equal level. And I think that comes from the
educational.
No, the legacy of Australians is most of us are prisoners from England, and so everyone has been a bit of a leveler. There's been, if you're there, you're sort of an underdog. You're a battler, someone who has to work hard to get somewhere. And if you're an authority, there's this kind of feeling that, well, if I'm a common person, if I'm a layman and I just do an honest work, I should be able to have a conversation and a beer with someone in a position of power and not feel that they're better than me, and they shouldn't feel that they are better than me either.
Right.
So, and the difference in America is that that's not here. In fact, Americans really value the individual who strives, right, works hard, and achieves. That European individualism is really popular here. That's one of the key things.
Right.
However, at the end of the day, I think we are very similar in the sense that we have good hearts, we mean well, and we want to go and do something positive in the world.
I think so, and I think there was no mistake. I believe in synchronicities. I believe very much so. So when I was in my office and my dear friend Dr. Nita brought you in to introduce you to me, I knew. I was like, okay, this is just too bizarre, because I had just returned from Australia, so of course hearing your voice, I was like, oh, Aussie, yay,
More Vegemite.
more Vegemite. Oh yes, don't even get me started. By the way, folks, Samuel Osborne also does not like
Does
Vegemite.
not. Oh my goodness!
Explain to people what Vegemite is, because it looks like car grease, but
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's a motor oil paste that people
It's
eat.
yeast, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a yeast.
It's salty, yeasty paste. It's like brown peanut butter that does not taste good. However, there are some people in Australia who love this stuff and need it every day, and I don't know what's wrong with them.
And they put it on everything.
Bread, crackers.
Yes.
It's horrible stuff in my opinion, and but
But I'm just glad. I'm glad we're on that. I'm glad we're on that, because I was being convinced that everybody in Australia loves Vegemite. I'm like, no way.
Nope.
My taste buds are not that different than any other human beings. So let's talk about Pack a Bigger Punch. Let's talk about this book. This book was written with who in mind? Who would you say that this particular book, Pack a Bigger Punch, 7 Steps to Uncover Your Real Message, who was this written for?
This is written for the person who is sitting at home, who has been sitting at home for the last few years, putting off living their life. The person who thinks every day, I wish I would just make a start doing the thing that I would love to do, channeling that into a business and making an honest living, doing something that they are so in love with that gives great value to the world. So the budding entrepreneur, the person who says, I want the confidence to be able to promote myself, to share something with the world, to serve the world in a meaningful way. A lot of this book was inspired by Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Mm-hmm. And he says in there, if you want to find meaning in the world, there's 2 ways. Number 1 is you devote yourself to some other person. Number 2, you devote yourself to a cause bigger than yourself. And so I took this book and I went searching for what was meaningful to me, and then channeled that into a business venture, which is helping people to find out their purpose, their message, the thing they want to share with the world, and just breaking it down so that they can make a start. Because I get that lots of people they don't have the confidence they need. And I found that it's really an issue of self-permission. Giving yourself the permission to start and realizing that you will never get enough reassurance from other people to get the green light to start living your life, and taking that step from being in your job, whatever that is, to living life on your terms and being aware of the value you have, and that, yes, there are people out there who would love
whatever it is that you have to offer.
Simple as that.
Right. I am from the mindset. There's a couple different things about how and it's taken years. I mean, I'm in my 50s, and it's taken a while for me to get to this place. But what I've realized is that I want to work smarter, not harder. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to work hard. And this is something that a lot of people think, well, no, if you want to succeed, you have to work hard. I don't believe that. When you're really in alignment and you're coming from a place of passion and not a place of
desperation,
lack. Not a place of desperation or lack, or like I want a selfish motive. When you come from a place of I want to give to the world, I want to give to these needy children, or I want to do something good. when you're in alignment with those things, a lot of times things just sort of fall into place, and it's actually somewhat easy. Also, when you have a job that you love, it's not considered work or hard. You may have long hours. You may have days where you're challenged or people, things break, equipment or whatever, and you're like, oh, my goodness. But on the whole, it's a good energy or good feeling when you're driving in your car to get to work, right?
That thing when you have a conversation with someone and you're on the same page and time just flies. Yeah. And you are both in the flow. You're both learning from each other. There's no sense of they're taking more or you're taking more. It's an equal exchange of value. And you think, I wish I could do that every day. Then that is a mark, a criteria to let you know that's what lights you up. Go do more of that for the world.
Yes. And the doors open.
I tell you what.
Like magic.
Well, Joseph Campbell wrote a lot about this. Follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where before there were only walls. And so I really took this to heart and thought, I'm going to embrace fate, as he suggests, and I'm going to listen and watch for those doors to open and walk through them. And I know people are afraid to do that because they don't know what's on the other side. I didn't know what was on the other side. However, I realized by walking through them, you get this little sort of tick of self-approval, not the approval of others. You go, yeah, actually that was
did that.
that was me. And I think it's okay to celebrate your own achievements just quietly to yourself. Don't brag about them, but to go, I took a step into the unknown and it turned out really well. And that gave me the feeling to do it more and to encourage others to do it. Say, come on, it's you will love it. Do it a few times.
That's and that you just hit on the thing that I want to do for, the next phase of my life. The next chapter that I want is to build. I want to bring to people in different cities where it's easy for them to get to. I want to build these events. If it's a day or 2 days or more, but these events where people can come and not only be inspired by, of course, the speakers, the folks like yourself who are up on stage, tapping into people's
what lights them up,
to what lights them up, and also to let them know that it's okay to take a jump or a leap in towards your dreams. But what I really want to do, because this I found is like magic. What I want to do is I want to have a space that we help each other, that we whatever it is that you're doing. There is this thing. There's no person is an island or no man is a mountain or whatever. I don't know what the phrase is, but basically, there are things that you want to do, you want to accomplish, and many times it's just requiring this person or that person or this skill that maybe you don't have. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. So what I'm good at I can do with my eyes closed. But there's other things that I want and I need to bring in other people. And that's what I want to do is I want to create these type of events where we basically get people charged up, tap into their desires that they want, be it in relationships or health or wellness or business, and then have it so that they are able to network with one another and build that dream, because everybody else in that audience is there to find out their dream as well. And they're not lazy. They're all there to get going. You know what I'm saying? They're not on the couch eating, Cheetos.
To create new cultures and say, this is where a world movement could start, is in this very room with two people. Mm-hmm. And you say, now let's do that en masse, because in 2018, we need to reassess culture. Terence McKenna, a hero of mine, he said, find the others, build culture. Actually, he said, culture is not your friend. He says, culture is not set up to help you explore the unknown. And he really said, basically, large doses of psychedelics rarely in order to make it so that you have no chance of struggling to have these new ideas about who you are and what's important in the world. So I believe, I'm not saying take psychedelics at your events, however, but putting people together in the same room and saying there is something within each of you that has the potential to make a massive difference. That is like...
It's huge. It's huge.
And for someone to actually sit there and go, what if that's true for me? And you go, yeah, now talk to the person next to you.
Right.
And you can, the little supernova.
Yeah, it's the synapses. If you've ever seen, the animations of your synapses, and right, and the neurons.
You're talking my language.
All of that. Those connections. And here's the thing: maybe it's because we just see out of our two eyes, right? And we always see out of the two eyes. We don't see, we don't see from the other perspective. But we're so ingrained in just thinking that this is my struggle, this is my life and my family and my neighborhood and my state and my country, or we isolate ourselves. And what happens is that you could be sitting right next to either your future soulmate, or you could be sitting next to the person that has, what is it? The folks that came up with the Apple computer. It wasn't just one person, but you might be sitting next to somebody who has the key to what you are, what you've been striving for, what you've been looking at. If you've always wanted to write a book, you might be sitting next to the publisher, or the executive director of some type of organization that can help get that out, or who knows somebody. And we miss those opportunities all the time.
Now imagine you're at a table with, say, 12 people, and you all have a unified goal, and you all work on it. That is a power. In fact, Napoleon Hill wrote in The Laws of Success about the mastermind. And the mastermind is a group of 12 people, all dedicated to one goal, all helping each other out. And he said that is the perfect number for really making stuff happen. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers and also Tipping Point, he talks about how he does a bit of a case study on the company that Goretex. He says that company, I think, is got the most happiest staff members because no one is the boss, but everyone is accountable to each other, and it made them very productive, very creative, innovative, and grew them. And they said about 150 people was the right amount, and that's the same in military. I think a squadron, well, I'm not too sure, but 150 people is a great number for a group of people to really take something to snowball their effect. So, yeah, people don't realize the opportunities that are right in front of them or next to them when they go to an event, such as the one that you're describing, even someone on the bus. You have to start to see the world through opportunistic eyes. And I believe that the world is trying to help us out. It's trying to give us these little drops of inspiration without interfering too much and taking away personal responsibility. It's like they're going, here's the deck of cards, but we want you to play them. So it's like, where does inspiration come from? Where does imagination come from? And you think, you have these ideas. It's okay not to know, but you had them. So you just have to trust that there is some sort of wisdom in the world that wants you to do well. It's
very much like the Matrix, or I liken it to a very well produced video game. Very, very well produced video game where there's different scenarios. There's different things. You can go left, you can go right. You can choose this weapon, or you can choose this. You can choose how people react. I mean, you can choose so many different. There's always, at every turn, there is a variable. There's always a choice, and you're always given that choice. What you're going to do, but it's all right in front of you. And I think gathering those kind of people who are that motivated to have better health, to either seek out a relationship that they have always dreamed of, or if they're in a relationship, to improve it, to be there for one another. There's nothing personally there is nothing makes me more happy than to see either business partners or relationships or couples, married couples, boyfriend, girlfriend, doesn't matter, partners, going to events where they are transformational, wellness, and wanting to improve themselves, but also as the unit of being, a couple, of being me and you. And I think that is extremely healthy because it just sets off those synapses again, right, of creativity.
And that creates new awareness for what is possible. And you see here on my website there, it's like the main caption is "Be a better speaker." My vision for the world is a world where people speak to each other better. And if we just did that, the possibilities are incredible. I'd say to people, if you overcome the fear of public speaking, you realize you are capable of more, because the fear of public speaking is kind of just up there above death.
It's the fear of judgment, isn't it?
It's the fear of judgment, of being rejected, of not fitting in, actually. And people actually, they want to belong.
They want to belong.
And then I would say a more accurate thing is they want to fit in, which is, I know it's a nice, comfortable thing. I mean, you want to fit into the group, and that's a humble thing. Like, okay, new group, want to hang out with them. But don't fit in so much that you conform and smother the light inside you that you want to share with the world. So if people realize that there are more possibilities and the person next to them shares that, something really magical starts to happen. It's like, you saw it too? Yeah. And I think it's okay to share the journey of giving each other permission. Say, I just realized I can give myself permission. Oh, you just realized it too? Cool, what could we create? Well, I want to create this. Me too. And that Me Too effect is beautiful when you see it happening, and it starts popping up all over the room. It's like, job done. Humanity needs more moments where people are sharing the similar awareness of what is possible, as opposed to all this like negativity that is in the world.
Well, and that's where I wanted to go with this next question too, because I am I'm a firm believer, and it's been mostly because I witness it. I've seen it for so long, but I am very I understand the power of our thoughts. I also understand not only the power of our thoughts, but then the power of our spoken of the voice, because you are literally putting it into creation. Can you speak about let's talk about that, the power of the words that we use, the power of the things that come out of our mouths, not only to other people, to our friends, our coworkers, our significant others, our children, what we say to our children, but also what we say to ourselves.
Oh, massive. So what I've noticed about myself and a lot of people is that we will defeat ourselves before anyone else has the chance to do it for us.
We want to beat them to the punch.
We tell ourselves it's not possible. We tell ourselves we can't do something even before someone else can criticize and ridicule with those very same words.
Why do we do that?
I believe we do that because of some silly habit, and it's because we don't realize our value and our true nature. And in order to understand our true nature, it takes a moment to stop, let the mind settle, and go, wow, there's something inside me of true value that I want to share with people, and trust yourself. I think that's key, because then you can stand in your own conviction, and that's really powerful.
Is it? Do you think it's that a lot of people have a hard time trusting themselves, or trusting others, or trusting the universe, or a little bit of all three of them?
I think it is a bit of all. However, you've got to start with yourself and create reference points for, I can do this. And sometimes you have to fake it till you make it. And that is totally fine. In fact, action begets the feeling of confidence, not the other way around. You can't be confident, or you can't expect to get the confidence to go and then do something. You have to do something and go, wow,
I did it.
I did it.
Right.
I now have more confidence points, let's put it like that. So I often say to people, ready, fire, aim. You cannot prepare, you cannot get enough preparation to be ready. A perfect example is years ago I wanted to teach children how to beatbox.
Oh, that's right. I forgot your
sound effects,
beatboxer.
beatboxing, and this is from after a decade or so, a friend saying, you're really good at it, you should teach people. And me feeling, I'm not ready, I need a little bit more preparation. That was BS.
Right.
Basically, it came down to call schools, ask them if they want one, get them to say yes, show up and give it, and then worry about whether you're ready or not. What I found was that once I did one, I realized I am so ready to do this. I've been ready for ages, and so I did more. And so I say to people who are feeling that they're not quite ready,
Do it.
do it. You are ready. Whatever's going through your head, ignore it, go and do the thing, and then criticize yourself afterwards. So I say to people, don't worry, you got plenty of time to ridicule and criticize yourself after you've taken a courageous step, by which time you'll be thinking, I just took a courageous step. I mustn't be that bad. And I want to do it again because I got the taste. The taste of doing something you love and giving value to people and seeing the value in people's eyes. Like if you work with children and they're like, it's easy to see that you've done a good job because they're laughing and smiling, and even with adults.
So you taught children how to beatbox?
I endeavoured to do that. Some of them were great and better than me. The real joy is seeing a child who is very shy in front of their own class, stand up in front of their own class, grab the microphone, and to the best of their ability, drop a fat beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to see them go, oh my goodness, I'm actually not so bad.
Yeah.
And then I make a big point saying, do you know how much courage you have in front of all your friends? And I kind of take a moment and say, girls and boys, there's a lot of bullying in school, and also when you're a big kid, when you're in an adult in the corporate world, there is bullying. End of story. We know that, and it's not a good thing. However, if you have the courage to stand up and be someone who is going to challenge that through your own constitution, it can do a lot for the group. They can go, well, if that guy did it, maybe I can too.
Yeah. Well, and it is. It's not an easy. It's not. Would you do us a favor? Would you do a little beatbox because you said it, and I'm hearing the audience.
Of course.
The audience in my head, which is the listeners of Out of the Box Radio. Out of the box. There you go. Beatboxing. They're all. I can hear them all. They're like, well, let them do some beatbox.
All right. I'm going to give you the choice of: do you want drum and bass? Do you want tech house? Or do you want hip hop?
Oh my God. Let's do hip hop.
And then we bring in a bass line. And then this cool sound effect. I don't know what this is, but it's cool. It's like...
Oh my God!
I could go all day. I love it.
Okay, I'm gonna have you do I'm gonna make a request and have you, not now. You don't have to do it now because it's on the spot. But I so would love to have you be the get my opening theme music, right? Because Out of the Box and with you beatboxing.
Out of the beatbox. Yep.
Oh God, yeah. Well, and the first. When many years ago, when I needed a career change and I was hungry. I needed to have a change, And I started doing –
Should consider a career in beatboxing.
well, no, I can't beatbox. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I probably could, but that's not my forte. That's not my skill set. But I was a writer, and I was doing first I did album review, CD reviews, and then movie reviews, and then I started writing for I had a daily column for America Online and MSN. It was called the character I wrote through was called Beatbox Betty, and she was this Hedda Hopper, Hollywood. She's a cartoon character. She's not me. It's just big beehive, tiny waist that's ridiculous, like completely anatomically incorrect. And she'd always be holding a martini. And so
sounds like a good girl.
Oh yeah, no, and she was quite like if she didn't like a movie, she would let you know and be brutal about it, but funny.
Okay.
So, but it was just interesting because her name was Beatbox Betty, and everybody always asked me, "Can you beatbox?" And I said no, and I said that's not what she's for, but that was just her name. So, I should have learned how to do that, and maybe we'll have to do a class at another time.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can anybody beatbox?
Anybody can beatbox. If you can make clicks and pops with your mouth and you have a bit of rhythm or a sense of timing, you can do it. Homer Simpson can beatbox.
Really?
I think he did it in one of his episodes. But essentially, if you can do like a sound, which is the noise you make after you put lipstick on.
Yeah.
And if you can do this like, "G'day, mate."
Right.
If you can do that little click, you've got a kick and a snare. So you can go like... And then you add a bass line, which is humming. So you go... Easy, right?
You don't have headphones on. We're in the studio, and you don't have headphones on. I do, and it sounds really, really good. Do you do that? Do you have a place to record, either at home or you just do that? You just do this out with no recording.
I usually don't have any sound equipment with me. I used to do jam spaces at festivals, and I would get people in. I would be beatboxing with a mic and a lamp and a loop station. And people would come in and I'd be doing my thing and I'd just be gesturing, "Come on over, have a go." And people would sit down and they'd have a go and I'd show them the machine so they could learn how to loop their voice. And it made them a beatboxer within 60 seconds. And they got this sense of, I have musical talent, which is true.
Yeah.
They had a sense of creativity. And then I would move to being greet and seat in my own themed festival tent. And I would say, "Hi, I'm the host of the Aam Dome," which was what it's called, a place to jam, be musical. And I would teach the person how to use the machine. And then when someone else came along, they would then teach them. Oh. And I would be greet and seat and just saying, "That person on the mic there will show you how to do it." And so it became autonomous.
So they became the student. They were the student and they became the teacher.
Exactly. And then after a while, you just have this family feeling of people jamming. Someone might bring a guitar along, someone might sing, so we'd have two mics. And it was just a joy to see that I'd created this beautiful little moment at a festival of people without a lot of technology having a great time.
I can do anything I want. This is my show. So I'm going to actually put the headphones on you.
Okay.
And I want you to be close to the microphone. And you can do a little riff if you want. I just want you to hear what you sound like professionally.
Okay.
With the volume here. Okay.
Pass it over. We'll start with something like this, like. How's that?
That's perfect. How did it sound?
Sounded cool. Sounded cool, yeah. I loved it.
Hey, and how can people get in contact with you? You got a website you want to throw out?
Yeah, okay. So the osborneinstitute.com, OSBORNE institute.com. And I'm happy to give out my cell number, 747-246-8199. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and very approachable, happy to talk to people. If you actually call me on the phone, I would love that, as opposed to a text or an email. I'm one of those old school, even though I was born in 1979, so I'm kind of on the cusp of being Gen X and millennial. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to be a bridge between the generations. However, I still love meeting people face to face, hearing their voice over the phone. I think that's actually what is missing in the world.
We've got a couple more minutes left in this hour, and I wanted to give you the opportunity to tell people what. Let's say they're in a job that they're maybe they're not super happy about. Maybe it pays the bills, but they're just not happy. When it's Monday morning and they hit the alarm, there's dread. Mm-hmm. What are some things that you can give our listeners about, putting out that real message into the universe and then actually taking steps to make a change in their life? And I know you only have a few minutes, and I should have just done that in the very beginning, but I have a feeling that you can kind of encapsulate that in a rather small time.
Yeah, okay. So 3 really simple tips. Number 3 would be to, if you're going to go and speak in front of people, and I really encourage you to just give a talk somewhere, is that you do a little dance to shake off those nerves. Before you get up to speak, just shake it off and get up there. Number 2 would be to put on a brave face and have a go. But my number 1 tip really is to join your local Toastmasters club. I'm a member of one here in North Hollywood. It's a chance for you every week to practice the art of public speaking and just get up and give a speech on anything that you're passionate about, and you'll get supportive feedback from people so that you can be great at speaking. And that is a self-discovery process, because you have to think every week, what am I going to get up and talk about? And you want to talk about something that lights you up to a group of people that are not going to judge you. So Toastmasters is great. I'm here in North Hollywood. Come to that one. If you're sitting at home, this is what I did over the last 2 decades. And if you just want to do something every week, get a pen and a paper and write down what is important to you and why. And just keep writing and writing and writing. And you will discover things about yourself because you're putting your thoughts onto paper. And for some people, that can be the first time that they're aware of what's important to them. Mm-hmm. I find that when you become aware of your values, it can be life-changing, because a lot of the time people are not achieving their goals because they're out of alignment with their values, what gives them true meaning. Right. So if you become aware of what you really value, you can then set your goals in accordance to them. Right.
Instead of just reacting to life at whatever life. So many people
shooting in the dark, going, why is my life unhappy? Why is this? And it's like, really sit with that and say, okay, you might not know why your life is unhappy, but what does make you happy?
Right.
And then following that path, be patient with yourself. A lot of what I speak about is having self-worth, or realizing your worth, is that you do actually have something that at least a few dozen people are going to take, and that's going to be big for them. Right. So I say, how can you serve the world? How can you take what you already do really well, that you think, there's nothing to that, and teach someone who would just love to be
right. And it might be millions of people that want that or that need that.
And then ask, go around your community, start local. What's his name? I was reading that you had his Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Started local, and he rallied the troops, so to speak, in his own neighborhood and built from there. And he spoke to his people.
And then spoke to the whole wide world.
And then spoke to the whole wide world. So right. I say to people, start where you are with what you have. Take a step, then reflect, and take another one. That's the only way.
And you never, ever know because, like you said, there's something that you have that you think is nothing or that the knowledge that you have. There are so many people out there that want those skills, want that information, need that information. And that's why, I mean, look at YouTube. You know, there's people doing makeup tutorials and they're becoming, you know, they're making so much money.
I have one more thing here to say. It's like, I heard this from a mentor, is that ask people to tell you what they see in you that they want for themselves. And I did this. I went on Facebook and I asked all my friends, I said, what is it in me that you want for yourselves? And I listed, I had about 30 people mention all these things, and they said confidence, motivation, determined. I was like, wow, that's what they see? That is an interesting exercise.
What other people see in you.
Yeah. What do you see in me that you want for yourself? Ask that to people.
That's good.
That's a great one.
That's good because then you've already got you've got your menu.
Because
this is it.
You might go, I didn't know that was valuable to anyone.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that I was good at that.
Right.
So awareness.
Right.
Of what you do naturally. In fact, that's one of the chapters in my book is unleash your natural message mojo. The thing that you just do so well that you don't even know you do it.
And that you don't even know that there's actually, I mean, I don't want to market. I don't want to say everything's marketing, but you didn't even know that that's something that's in demand.
Exactly.
That's in demand that people would want. So you have the ability, just based on what you're good at, you could do a blog, you could do a YouTube channel, you could write a book, you could have a speaking event. There's so many things that you can do.
There's people all around the world that you can access through the internet now. It's scalability. So you might go, well, I like baking chocolate cakes with whatever, and I like putting special candles on there. And you might just happen to make a lot of contacts in another country that you had no idea even existed. But someone in that country saw your video, shared it with their friends, and they were blown away. Like, that's what we're doing in our group this week. Let's get this person in.
There's this young man that was on, he's on YouTube, and he would be watching people making food. And he did a split screen, and he'd be just sitting there, and he was just like commenting on, and he was like, "Woo! Why'd you put in the ketchup in the cake batter?" And he would just, and it's so funny that Ellen saw it, and now she's got him as a regular guest on her show. And this guy is, he's going, and all he did was, he was making funny commentary about, the cooking shows and what people were making. So you never, ever know, folks. That's the key. That's what we're talking about. My guest this hour, oh my goodness, the time has just flown by. My guest this hour has been Samuel Osborne. He is the author of the book, Pack a Bigger Punch, 7 Steps to Uncover Your Real Message.
OsborneInstitute.com. If you want a free copy of my ebook, text your name and email to 747-246-8199, and I will email that to you. I'll also subscribe you to a free online video series which complements the book, of which, of course, you're free to unsubscribe because I don't like being spammed and I don't like to spam other people. I think that's really important. However, I love to give people a taste of what I have. So if they want that, They can do that.
Look at that. You got freebies, folks. Freebies from the Aussie.
Oh, and if people want a free 1-hour consultation to help uncover their real message, they can...
Really?
Yeah, 1 hour on Skype, or if you live in LA, in the Valley, happy to meet in person.
Oh, boy, you just opened that up. Okay, so give out your phone number again.
747-246-8199.
All right. That was a very generous offer, folks, right here on Out of the Box Radio. I want to thank my guest this hour, Samuel Osborne. As we get ready to wrap this up, I want to remind you, too, folks, that if you would like to never miss an episode of Out of the Box Radio, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Also, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, and this will be made into a YouTube video so you can share with your friends and family, and also Samuel's going to share it as well. So please do that. Share this show as much as you can. That's the whole idea.
Wonderful.
It's about getting this information out. So until next time, I want to remind you to always think outside of the box. Until next week, bye for now.